Oh man, we live, baby. We live. We lit, baby. We lit. Jeez. Oh my God. And listen, family tree, let me just tell you straight away off the bat. Hit up the like button. Everybody know that we're live right now on Titans TV for the more share it. Oh, sugar. Let me just make sure I mute this up. Cool. So, family, we've got a big boy show. Yeah, big boy show in store for you guys. We're discussing the afterlife. What is the afterlife? Discussion on the soul. Anyways, as well, please let me know if I'm coming through nice, loud, and clear. Let me just make sure it's doing what it needs to be doing. So yeah, family tree. Okay, so the afterlife, right? I want this discussion. I want to actually bring you guys in to have the discussion with me. I want to go through the Christian as well as the Islamic and of course the Kemetic, afterlife as well. Again, I know I've brought this up a few times. We created a few years back for the religiously minded a Kemetic creed, a creed that all people who claim to practice or adhere to the Kemetic philosophy would adhere to, right? And that was the starting point, which is Gnosis. There's a Gnosis, there's a cosmology, there's a theology, there's the anthropology, there is the pedagogy, the ethics, and of course, an eschatology. Okay, eschatology, the last one, the seventh of the seven knots in the things that tie us together in terms of Kemetic philosophy is the eschatology, which is what happens to you once you die. Okay, and this is a powerful topic because you know why? Not too many people within inside of the Kemetic philosophy will even want to talk to you about it, or if they're really entrenched and deep into it, I don't even think they're even allowed to talk to you about this because technically speaking, this is supposed to be one of those mysteries, within inside of the Kemetic philosophy. It's one of them secret teachings. Yeah, so I think I'm about to lift the veil off it though, because why not? So yeah, family, if you want to get involved, let me know, right? The link is already pinned up at the top, so jump in, get involved, right? So I think I'm going to just start off by just giving a cursory overview in terms of, how can I say, within inside of the Judeo-Christian Islamic paradigm. Actually, no, Jews not so much, right? There is the thought or the talk of an afterlife, or a day of standing, Yom Kiyama, the day of resurrection, the day that the trumpets is blown, and so forth and so forth. And people will be standing up, and there will be a king-like figure, and then there will be some type of judging, and the damned will go into the lake of fire and hell and so forth, and everybody's burning for eternity. And then there's those who are good and on the side of Ya Allah, Jah, Christ, I don't know what you want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, will now be elevated into heaven, into paradise, into the right hand of God and so forth. And I'm assuming that there will just be a feast. But I would also like to know, what's the afterlife like? What's it like? So we're now there, we're in heaven. God is there with us. We're clapping our hands, we're singing, and we're eating. Is that the afterlife? I don't know. Let me know. Okay, so that's that. So that's from the religious. Yeah, I can hear. Okay, cool. Chase. Yeah. All right. So that's the religious perspective of the afterlife, right? But what is the Kemetic version of the afterlife? That's what I want to know. What is the Kemetic version of the afterlife? And for me, I was having this conversation earlier on as well, because for me, I like to think, no, let me not go there. Let me not even go there. I'll actually just see if I can give an overview of the afterlife. Let's see if I can share my screen. It's always good to share screens. So let's do this. I love the Papyrus of Annie. That's like my favorite papyrus of the Book of the Dead. I should pronounce it like that. Let's see if I can do images. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to just share my screen. So family tree. Yeah, again, we have, what do we have? We have the link that's pinned up there. So if you would like to join us, please come through, join us. And of course, we're about to go in. Okay, so this is the Papyrus of Annie. Yeah, and as I said, it's one of my favorite papyruses in terms of the Book of the Dead, or the Pert Em Heru. Okay, the day coming forth by day. I mean, sorry, the book or the chapter or the book. Yeah, the book of the coming forth by day. So let's see, where do we want to start? Okay, so we have the whole, concept of being judged on the scales of Ma'at right there. We have the concept of being judged on the day of Ma'at, and we have the whole concept of the day of resurrection right over here. This is the day when you're actually going to be stand to a living perpendicular, and then your mouth will be opened, and finally, you'll be entered into a paradise of some sort. And on this day, you'll be taken to, where is he? Where is Asar? Where's Heru taking him to Asar to be in the presence of Asar? Let's see. Bear with me, family, bear with me. Okay, this is technically the scene here, but it's cutting. This is the scene here, okay, but it's cutting out the final element of, there it is, right there. There it is. So yeah, there is that. Let me see if I can make it bigger for you lot to see, okay? So after you've been judged, and you've turned into an akhu, which is an ancestor, an effective ancestor, right? Because not every person who dies, who is your linearly or genetic ancestor, becomes akhu. This is something that has to be bestowed upon you, right? So once you, so there's an akhu. Let me just make it clear. There is an akhu and there is a mutu. Okay, those are the two concepts within inside of ancient Egypt, Kemet. Those who are effective ones and those who are just simply dead, that don't longer have any form of existence, right? And you don't want that. So, anyways, here you go. So there you go, Heru, bringing him into, the throne room or the shrine room of Asar right there. He's accepted into the presence. Now, this person here, which is Ani, he now becomes just like Asar. He now becomes an Asar, and he has the access to rejuvenation. He has the access to rebirth. He has the access to become a living soul and being able, or a living bar, being able to travel and so forth, right? That is the Kemetic understanding of an afterlife. Let me actually get Asar M. Ka in, because I know he's going to bring some fire and some heat, right? But of course, I need you guys here to drop a follow, drop a like, and if you want to as well, drop some questions, tag Titanstv, drop your comments and your questions so I can read them out live on screen, family tree. Okay? Brother Asar, talk to me.
Emetap, son. ETE Emetap Seni Senet Anquastajet Anku Jaseneb Dua Henu for listening. Our brother Kalam is in the building as usual doing his thing. I mean, let's start at the beginning for him a little bit. When you first pass away, that very first chapter, the book of coming forth by day, it says Jehudi, just like in the mythos, Jehudi always was there for Asar. Jehudi is giving you praise and giving you guidance and sending you off on your journey so you can start to go through what we call the Amduat. If I was a believer back in these times, this is what I would see. I'm a Shemsu Asar, but not necessarily do I believe everything that happens in there. So let me say that disclaimer first. But the understanding you should know is of the ancient believers. As soon as you pass away, Jehudi is saying prayers for you, and your body starts to travel on the journey to the Amduat. As you go through that Amduat, you're going to need to know the names of the Necharu. You're going to need to know what your hands do as a all these things are important. You're going to have to be a good soul. They say the ladder to the heavens, the ladder to the pet, is incense for your aku, your ancestors, as our brother pointed out, and libations, the water, cooling them off, making sure they get something to drink. He just pointed out some become aku, some become what we call mu'it. Mu'it are wandering souls that don't get libations, don't get the incense, don't get remembered. So these things are important. I'm not going to cut his bill, though. I got some information once my brother finishes up. We'll get busy today.
All right. Listen, I want my comedics to come and teach, right? Because what I love about it is we get to share ideas, okay? Because very rarely do I actually get these days to be in contact with a lot of Kemetic brothers, right? And we can build and share ideas with each other. So I know, right? But I know other people, like I was, bro, if you actually, let me tell you this. Go into Asar M. Carr's channel, right? You can see his name on the screen. Asar M. Carr's channel. I think it's the Hecken. Is it your name or Hecken the Chair?
Heck in the chair. Praise
Okay.
the divine. HKN, new word NTR.
There you go. Yeah. And I'm sure even if you just Google or YouTube his name, right, it will come up as well. Right. And I'm there. I'm binge watching it because I'm like, jeez. The amount of bombs that's just being dropped. I'm like, yo, he's taking my mind here, over there. I'm like, ooh, sugar. Yeah. So my brother Asam Kai, yeah, he's giving me life. He's giving me hope because enough times I'll turn on to these comedic channels, right? I'm like, okay, everybody that discusses or talks about Kemet, they only talk about it from a historical standpoint. Let me repeat that. Everybody that talks about Kemet, if you go on to, big boy channels, like I love my Sarnetters, I love like all these other channels, right? Everybody is really only talking about it from an objective outside perspective, talking in about it and then just creating something else of their own. When I listen to Asam Kai, he's going in, he's saying coffin text, let me pull that out for you. Pyramid text, let me pull it out for you. Book of the Dead, let me pull it out for you. Book of the Amduat, let me pull it out for you. And I'm like, yo, this is what I need, because, and all the other astrological texts as well. I'm like, yo, this is what I need because this is the true, authentic Kemetic information. All the other stuff where you start hearing about the chakras and the yoga this and etc. I'm not saying that you can't, invent and create a Kemetic spin on it, but I'm saying that's not it. The real, true, authentic stuff is go back to the text, go back to the literature. What does it say? What did the people have to say for themselves? You know this famous saying, let the ancestors speak, god damn it. So yeah, I'm loving that. Let me see what my brother Fact Over Personality says. Titanstv, please make him show us what he's saying. Don't let him talk us to death. Make him show us his evidence. 100%, baby. Like, and I already know Assad's going to do that. Yeah, because you already know the motto for
Kalam, they forget. They forget.
Hold on, one second. The motto for this channel, yeah. Let me tell you the motto for this channel. If you are no, sorry, that's another one. If you are truthful, then provide your evidence. So everybody, including myself, I am not exempt. If I say some wild-ish, and sometimes I'll say some wild-ish, so I'm begging, please let somebody in the comments like say, Cal, show me that. I'm like, yes, now it's time to pull up the books and the PDFs and, really get into the teaching element. That's where I thrive at, right? Is actually showing you where it is in source material. And everybody that comes onto this channel, I'm trying to lead by example, like just show your sources. Yeah. Because this ain't no mystical, magical something where, only you have the information, right? We're living in that information age where everybody has access to this information. Some may be limited by, how could I put it, monetary resources, because a lot of these books, God, damn, they're expensive, but it's so worth it. Anyways, go through, my brother.
Oh yeah, they forget I'm the one who always shows the source. You forget I'm the one who would come over here and break the source down. This is what happens. We go on to other shows and we don't get to fully explain everything. Guys will cut you off in the heated discussions and all that goofy stuff. But don't forget, I'll take you to my channel and start to break down the sources. We'll come back to you and say, okay, so now that we're here today, what about this? And cats start to choke up. That's just how it goes. See, we carry these types of books. We don't just talk about them. You understand what I'm saying? So this all you gotta do is pull this up on the internet. You tell me how much it costs. You tell me how much it costs. And that's because we do the work. We've been doing the work. Like yesterday, we had let's start early before we even get into the full-blown discussion. We had a brother in here. I think I just see him. It was Facts Over Personality. And this, I'm in the truck talking to them. He's mixing up Amun with Ra and he's mixing up Asar with Ra. Let's take them right to the text, brother. I'm gonna pull up sophiatopia.org for him before I go into the books and all that other stuff, just so we could correct him from yesterday.
And let me actually go into this, right? Because this right here. Brother, not many names left. Let me know if you're still in the building, because it will be good to actually touch on this topic right here, right? It says here, what? Let me know, brother. Let me know, because otherwise I ain't touching on it if you're not still here. It says here, once your body ceases to function, exists, it's lights out and you're gone. Chase, I want to know, do you agree with that statement or not? And I'm saying to the family in the comment section, right? Give me a 1 if you agree with that comment, or a 2 if you don't. And I want to know from you, Asal, what say you? Do you agree or do you disagree?
That what was said in full? Only because I missed it.
Let me pull it back up again. Okay. Once your body ceases to function or exists, it's lights out and you're gone.
Not necessarily. Because we have what's called brain dead, right? And when you're brain dead, you're not supposed to know anything. It's supposed to be over then. But people come back from comas who are brain dead. People come back who have surgery who are declared brain dead, and they tell you what's happening in that room. Plus, they tell you what was happening in the next room, and we've got, confirmations of them actually being truthful concerning their statements. So I wouldn't say that necessarily, because energy doesn't die. It just transforms. That's a scientific fact. That's thermodynamics. What happens if you get an astral body, or you get this, or we don't quite know. We do know quantum physics, so we can see what happens when a ghost particle separates from a normal particle. So we can't run from science either. Or when Einstein makes the statement spooky matter, that means that a particle is split into two, and once you observed it, it crashed into one of those sides. What was inside of that matter? When we talk about the very beginning of the universe, and this is science. This is why I say YouTube scientists fall flat every time. The beginning of the universe is all energy. It's too hot to have matter. Everything is energy. If we look up what energy is, it says spirit. It says energy. It says animation. So once it cools off and we start to get clumps of matter, to me, apparently that energy in the beginning of the universe is what fuels your, what we call a soul. And that's the definition that they give it. So we can't run from science concerning. If we let's just pull up energy real quick. Energy.
So I know you're going into that.
Go ahead.
Bro. I still wanted to go into that. The Kemetic. What did the Kemetics think? Do you see it?
We'll bridge,
because there is what we think and what we know today versus what the Kemetics thought, and even versus what Christians and even Muslims and Jews think, right? So I was having this conversation today about what happens, like what actually gets to live on, right? And the way I see it is, and I said it before, Egyptians, I think why they are so great, right? They were, or they are, I'm not going to say that they're the only civilization, but I'll say that they're most probably the best that did it. They were a civilization that thought about death and thought how to overcome death. And they were the only ones that overcame death in the most marvelous of ways. Because even though ancient Egypt, Kemet, is dead and buried in terms of the activity of it, we still get to see the spectacle of ancient Egypt and Kemet. It lives in our brain, in our mind. We still think about it. We still make mention of the names. We still speak about the pharaohs, and we keep them alive on a daily basis. Do you know how many other gods have died? Right? How many gods have died? You know, Zeus basically died. What's his name? Odin has died. Yeah, he's coming back. They're coming back because man, like Thor and them man there, they're coming back through Marvels and these other stuff, right? But a lot of these gods died, right? And only as of recent, some of them are coming back to life. But it feels as though Kemet deities, right, and Kemet civilization has always been in the minds of all different types of society, and it never truly died. That's the way I see it, They learn how to overcome death. But anyways, I'm gonna go into this though, because for me, I don't think once you die that you're conscious again, I really don't. I really don't. But we'll speak on that. We'll actually speak on that. Let's see. Him flashing in the sense of okay. I've seen the Black conscious community say the ancient Egyptians didn't believe in afterlife. The one guy with long dreads used to say it, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know who that is actually, but I would say, as the Kemetic Creed, the last one, and eschatology, mate, I would say belief is the wrong word. I would say that you're a goddamn liar if you're a Kemetic practitioner, right? To say that the ancient Egyptians or the Kemetians never accepted or believed in an afterlife. They clearly acknowledged that there was an afterlife. It's just not the afterlife that most people refer to when it comes to religion. That's all. 100%. Their whole philosophy was to have eternal life, to live on forever. So to say that they didn't have an afterlife, right? Somebody there, they're lying. So I'm gonna go into it, okay? So the very foundation. Let me go into this actually, because most people, I don't know if they know these things, So let me go into this. I had to even do some translations myself, right? There you go. See, I had to do the translations. Let me see. I'm pulling right now, yeah. Let me actually go to the original, and I'm showing you where I'm making the translations from. Because we like to show evidence. Provide your evidence. So let's go into. Where is it? I want to go into Egyptian solar religion again. Where are we? So we've got here Egyptian solar religion. There you go. Let me just pull that up on the screen for you guys. Let's present on screen. And again, yeah, hit up the like button. Get more people in here. This is some powerful information that we're about to drop right now. All right. So this right here is it's on various different walls. I can literally go through it all with you, right? It's the Sun Chapel at Medinet Habu. It's on Taharka's building at Karnak. It's on coffin texts. It's on, tombs, etc., right? Where this text that I'm pulling from right now, okay? This right here is literally, as Yasin Asman calls it, right? It's the cult theological treatise, right? This is this text deals with the king as sun priest, i.e. the role of the sun priest as a function of Egyptian sacred kingship, which was then delegated by the king to local priesthoods to the sun god, right? So this right here is foundational text, and I don't hear anybody touching on this fundamental foundational text at all, right? For me, if you practice Kemetic philosophy, right, and you don't have this text, yeah, then you don't truly know what Kemetic philosophy is about. Big boy words right there. All right. So in here, yeah, it gives you the things that this right here is for the sun priest, right? This is giving you the political ideology of the sun king or the priest or the pharaoh. Like, what is his function? What is his role? What is the purpose? Yeah, what is the modus operandum? What is the reason for being? What's it, raison d'etat or something? I can't remember the French word, right? Like, what is the actual reason for being, right? And it says here, Ray has installed the king on the earth, etc., right? But I didn't like the translation because the translation is not right. And I checked somebody else's translation that had something else, and I was like, let me actually read this from the transcription and actually give you a better translation, right? So let me give you the better translation. So that's what I'm going to read from right now. Okay. And I'm going to give you the better translation of what it's supposed to be. Give me a hot second. So present, share screen. Bangers right there. All right. So right here, this is the transliteration. So anybody else who wants to check my work. Yeah. And this is only going to be the Kemetics, right? Because most people else, they don't know what the hell this transcription or transliteration is, right? So nobody really can read this. Apart from if you're Kemetic, you can read this, right? So anyways, so it says here, Ra has installed the king upon the earth for the sake of the living, to have endless repetition and invariable duration, to judge humanity, to pacify the gods, to realize Ma'at, and to annihilate Isfed. He gives offerings to the gods and invocation offerings to the transfigured. Okay, that is the purpose of kingship, or the role of being a Nesut. Okay, it's for the sake of the Anku. The Anku. Okay, and it's to give endless repetition and invariable duration. It's to give life, and it's to give Ma'at. Right? That is the key fundamental of the whole of, and most people won't even clock this, this is the key fundamental of Kemetic religion or philosophy, right? To bring about an eternality of endless repetition and invariable duration. Yeah, a type of stasis, non-movement, right? It should be set in motion, like a law, right? That is the basis of Kemetic philosophy. The second basis, really and truly, right after that, is this statement here, yeah, which is to realize Ma'at, yeah, and to annihilate or destroy Isfet, right? In order to bring about justice, you must also destroy. It's the creative destructive principle. All right. In order to create, you have to destroy. In order to build, you have to destroy. You have to create a foundation, right? These are these two things here, yeah, to bring about endless repetition and invariable duration. And then the also one here this is more like four things, right? To have endless repetition, that's one thing, and have invariable duration, that's the second thing. To realize Ma'at is the third thing, and to annihilate or destroy Isfet. That's four things. That's the key on all of Kemetic philosophy and religion. That's what it stands on. If anybody asks you, that's what it stands on. And if you think differently, come on here and fight me. Fight me for it. Fight me. Okay. Cool. So, in that being said, the role of the pharaoh, yeah, was to make sure that people had endless repetition, to live, to have fruitful lives, to have to have eternal lives, to have prosperity, and to be whole. And that is for the nation itself, right? That is the end goal. But then also there is the statement of endless duration, that stability of continuousness, which is technically speaking the principle of Asar, right? There is that principle of Asar where death came into existence, right? From a principle and a nature perspective. Death came into form because of Satuk or Set slaying his brother, Asar. Asar being slayed never got to rise again in the sense of coming back onto the land of the living like we have with Jesus and so forth. Never. His domain was in the Duat. His domain was in the underworld, right? He was the Lord of the underworld in a state of stasis. There is no movement in that world right there. It's the eternal realm. So when people say that there is no, afterlife, is how? The whole fact that death was brought into existence, right? Let me repeat that. The whole fact that death was brought into existence and the story pertaining to death or pertaining to Heru, Asar, and Satuk is the fact that they, the Egyptians, right, they wanted to overcome death because they realized that no man who dies physical death gets to stand up again and live on this earth. It's impossible. Okay? Absolutely impossible. Your domain is strictly speaking, yeah, in the underworld. But what do they want? What does it want? In order for Asar to live again, Heru must come into existence. Heru must come and avenge his father and give back what belongs to his father. there needs to be a regeneration. You see what? I don't even want to go too deep, you know. I don't want to go too deep. But family tree, come on in, yeah. Let me know what you guys are saying and what you guys want to hear. Ask some questions, yeah, and then we can really go in. Because I'm just dropping little seeds right now. Because I want more people to come in here and just really have a good, fruitful conversation. So come on, man, let's get it in. Okay, go to you, my brother. So you're back. We're missing you.
My modem went crazy on me. But
so I want to know, yeah, from the comedic standpoint, right? There is a dissociation, there is a separation, right? At the point of death. What separates from a man at point of death?
There's about 8 pieces of a body. We call we'll just say the sa. The sa is the best way to do it. There's a saying that they used to say, they would say ba ar pet, sa ar ta. That means soul to heaven, body to earth. So the heaven, you'll see in the text, they call it the pet. The pet is the sky. Nut is part of the pet. Noon is part of the pet. These are the physicalities of things that go on in the ancient sky. Most of the text you read will be for the king, because you are an extension of the king. They seen everything as what we call the pa'ut. The pa'ut is everything.
You, is that my thing or is it he's just lagging right now? Let me know, family. Is it me or is it him? Yo, you back?
Yeah, I'm all right. My modem is going crazy over here right now.
Okay.
So when we talk about the parts of the body, you have the ab, you have the sahu, you have the he pulled them up perfect. You've got the ket, that's your physical body that goes to the dirt. You have the sa, that's your spiritual body. If we talk about quantum physics and we talk about those two alone, you're talking about the separation from a physicality to a ghost particle. When you talk to Professor Kaufman, Dr. Kaufman, I should say, he says it appears that some of this stuff is happening, but we're not going to get into their discussion and how they go into things. But this is what the quantum physics is starting to bring and propose. Separate portions of the body. The ba is your personality. The ka is your spirit. They call it the double because they say your spirit is also intertwined with the Necharu spirit in the pet, in the heavens. The shoot, which is your shadow. Your second, which is your power. The ren is your name. But the sa and the ka are the main things because these other portions are part of the sa and they're part of your kat.
Okay. So, let me see. Right here, let's see.
Grapes, anyone?
Yeah. So, I want to know from you, like, what do you think? Is it your car that leaves your body when you die?
Well, your ka is your spirit. It's part of your sa. Sa is like an astral body, if you will. So if you get into the discussion about diminution and what happens to your, what would make you a physicality once you leave, you would end up being a sa. Your ka would be the spirit that inhabits that sa. Your ba is the personality of that sa. Your ren is the name of that sa and that physical body. Your ka, your ba, etc. Your ib is your heart.
So what? Because I'm saying this, right? Clearly, you have all of those things now, right now. But how do we define death? Okay, because for me, I always thought, and again, I'm opening up to see what other thought patterns are, right? For me, it is when your life force energy leaves your body, that is the dissociation. That is now that element of you is no longer is no longer attached to your body. Is that
So
what death is?
yeah, so when the energy that inhabits you transforms or
Mm-hmm.
leaves this physicality, you would be what we call on earth dead. Your
Mm-hmm.
energy is going to transform. It'd be like we see a pool of water, but what happens when we heat it up?
Mm-hmm. It evaporates or
Hmm.
boils up,
Is it
turns
gone?
into air. Nope, just transforms.
Right. So we know energy it does the same thing. It's just gonna transform. This physicality will decay, the energy inhabiting you will go, it will leave. We don't know exactly where. This is why I gave the disclaimer at the beginning. Yes, I'm a Shemsu Asar. Do I believe everything that they say is going to happen in the afterlife will happen? Not necessarily. We can find ancient texts where they say, eat the food that you give for offerings, drink the water after you give the libation. None of the ancestors have come back yet. So we've got texts like that back in the day. So they understand the physicality. A lot of people, oh, you worship this golden thing. No, the Necharu was there as a reminder that God is around you and to be mindful of things that can happen if you are disrespectful as a person. And so they say things like, not all who don't give offerings to the Necharu are this, that, the other, but it is those who are mindful of its presence that are wise, all that type of stuff like that, which you can find in Ankh Shashank, etc. So when we talk about what will happen to the body, we know what's going to happen to the physicality. What happened to the energy that inhabits the body? What's making me move now? The animation, we don't know. What is it?
So,
Dissolve?
so
No.
I want you to talk. I want you to talk me through the mythology, right? The mythology of what happens to a person once they are, they've died. What happens next? What happens from the point of death to the point of resurrection? Or is there, like, talk me through that from your understanding.
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you a fast version, and then I'm going to show some text. This way you guys kind of get the understanding. We're still going to visit what my man said yesterday in the chats. There was two of them. When you first pass away, like I said, the priest Yehudi comes, he gives you the rights. After he gives you the rights, they believe the soul begins to travel towards Sirius. Is why you see the opening in the side of the pyramid traveling towards Sirius, if you will. They believe that's where the Amduad is, where I said it was the other day when I said it starts under Orion, which is in one of the texts. I gotta dig it up and find it. So you start in that direction. The body or the Sa is traveling now on a journey through the afterlife. As it's traveling through the afterlife appears to be just like ancient Egypt. So it has to be aware of snakes. It has to be aware of people who will get it. It has to know the names of the gods that surround the door before it can even leave the tomb. We call it, they call that the fig door. We call it the Sa door. It also encounters something similar you find in your
Jeez.
Snap.
You saying the ancestors ain't trying to let him speak? Go on, easy bands. What you saying to me, King?
Hey man, just here to see what's going on with the conversation. I think you have this one on lock. If anything, I'll just contribute every now and then, and if I have some questions, like for instance, why do the Egyptians mummify their dead?
Perfect. So again, my thing is that the whole purpose of just mute your mic. The whole purpose, again, was to ensure eternal life. Okay, was to ensure eternal life. Clearly, the body is dead, right? Has just died, but now is to preserve it. There's no more decay. I want to preserve that life for as long as possible, because with preserving that life, we now have a physical link to this human being. This human being is now, once all of the rituals takes place, can now be transfigured into an akhu. An akhu is an effective one, a living being that has power in on the earth or on the land of the living itself. So this was a physical tether or link for that individual who's passed to have effect in the afterlife. Why? Because now this being can now be transformed into an asar, right? They can now participate in the rituals of the gods. They can now participate in the identification. Once a person has now gone into the next life, right? They are now transferred into an asar in the duat. What does that mean? The ahu, or the dead person, right, now has their own realm or world in the tomb. That is now their world. That's where they reside. That's where they live. They now becomes like asar, a mummified being that is preserved. Remember that statement I said about endless duration, right? Now there is an endless duration. There is a stasis where this being just exists for as long as possible. There is no decay. There's nothing like that. It exists, right? And it also now, as I said, it's a tethering link for now other people to come and say, yeah, I can visit my ancestor and I can visit my father who is my spiritual, and I'm going to use the word spiritual very lightly, as a person who has educated me and will continue to educate me and give me what I need to pass on the baton to the next generation. Okay, so it was a link for that itself. So that's the purpose of mummification, that person gets to participate in the realm of society, because the only, and I want anybody to correct me, the only way that the Kemetics envisioned an afterlife was on this physical earth. Their whole purpose, there is not a as far as I know, and I know my brother Asar can change things up for me, right? There was no other world like that, right? It was here. I want to live on this earth. I want to participate in the society, in the social gatherings of humanity. I want to be an akhu, an effective one on this realm of existence. There is no other realm of existence that I want to participate or be, but on this world. So what that means is, okay, I need my name, my ren. Yeah. If a person's name doesn't continue to live on, they literally cease to exist. Why do they cease to exist? Because a name is the person's identity. It's what makes them who they are. If you don't remember the name of, your forefathers, they no longer exist. It's only you as a being, or any human beings, can keep a person alive by constantly mentioning their name. You give life to their spirit by even praising their names and enumerating the things that they did. So that's what their whole concept was. How do I stay alive on the land of the living? And this was one of the technologies that they created or adopted to stay alive for as long as possible.
But is this so is it just metaphorical, or is it like actually, like when they say how do I stay alive, and you say that if you're mentioned, that keeps you alive, would you say that is something that's tangible, or it's just something that people might feel keeps them close to the memory of said person? Is it tangible? Like, what I mean is, like, is it real? Like, is the person really alive?
I would say that, is the person really alive? It's going to be, this is how the Kemetics defined life itself. So I can only speak on how the Kemetics define life. For them, the mere mention of them keeps them alive. The fact that you're participating in the community or the communal life, it keeps you alive. The fact that you're ba, which is your power or your impressiveness or your effectiveness, can now wander during the day, right? It keeps them alive. What do I mean by this? We have somebody like right now, Shakespeare, William Shakespeare, is an Aku. Regardless if we, like him or love him or don't like him or love him, or Michael Jackson, he's an Aku. Whether you like him or love him or you don't, these are individuals that are kept alive. You still are able to read their work and their literature and feel as though you're close to them and near to them. You're still able to watch the videos of these people, be inspired by these people in your day-to-day life. You're still doing the hee-hee, and the moves and the dance. You could still feel the spirit of Michael Jackson alive. That was, for them, life on this earth. Go ahead, King.
Correct. And I'm gonna not try to share my screen. I'm gonna just say the information on it. My modem is going crazy today. The Aku, we have what you call people would write letters to their dead ancestors and ask for power. When you seen the deaths here in the U.S. from the police killing black folks, is one of the things as a Pan-Africanist that we interjected. We would say their name, because when you say their name, they live on. They don't just die like that. And so this is why it tells you in the ancient text to venerate your ancestors, make statues for them, say their names, write their names down. And this is actually looked upon as a bad thing in other religions. But in ancient, in African religion, this is exactly what you do. You venerate your ancestors so you remember the information that they left for you. Remember the thought of them, the warmness to your heart that they brought to you when you would see them. And this is how they live on through history. And Kalam gave the perfect example. You'll continue to say Public Enemy, LL Cool J, Tookie Williams for Crips, so-and-so for such as, it doesn't matter who or what. That ancestor is venerated by you remembering who they were and what they did. My saying is remember who you are and be an Asar, because when you're an Asar represents the spreading of knowledge, the spreading of information. He was a tree netcher. He was a corn netcher. He represented growing your own food. He represents guidance and information. So you're always to be like that in African thought. And that's exactly what you should do with your ancestors. If they die a horrible death, say their name and keep them in your remembrance. You'll still say George Floyd to this day.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yes.
So basically, okay, let me make more of a statement. So are you saying that the afterlife is you living through people's memories or living through people that are alive? That's
exactly.
The afterlife.
Yes.
Okay.
Life on this earth.
Yeah.
Life on this earth.
Now, the spiritual realm that they talk about, which I've already made the disclaimer for earlier, you shouldn't be unfamiliar with that. So if we talk about the Amduat today, and like I said, the journey that the soul takes, most of it is shaped like ancient Egypt. Did you have, I'm assuming you're leaning towards a question of that. Go ahead, ask it.
No, I wasn't. I just thought you froze up for a second. So I was like, damn.
Okay.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm just trying to figure out what is the afterlife, you know what I'm saying, with the Commission doctrine. Because I'm still kind of lost,
after this physical body passes, right? So we explained that already. So it's when your Sa, the animated energy inside of your physical form, leaves this physical form. Wouldn't that be life after life? Here, let me give you another example. When you were in the womb and you were in the scrotum, you were two separate beings, weren't you?
Yes.
Sperm and egg.
Yes.
Two separate lives. You connect in your mother's womb as two separate beings, a sperm and an egg. You connect to become one. That's a third life, right?
All right. Well, let me see. I don't know.
Is sperm alive? Is egg alive?
I don't know if it's a life per se. I think the life begins when they come together. not when they're
the sperm is moving. When you see a frog as a tadpole, which looks just like a sperm, by the way, do you say the frog is dead?
No, you got a point. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, if we're talking about a human being, right? The human life itself, right?
We're not human yet. We're sperm and we're egg. We're two separate beings, and both are alive. Sperm swim. They don't just float deadly to the egg, and the egg selects which one will enter it. Does it not?
It does.
Can I ask?
Conscious decision. Go ahead, brother Israel.
It sounds good, but what type of sources do we get?
That's science. Shall we pull up sexual education and pull up sperm and egg and their life cycles?
Okay,
pull it up.
We know the ovaries bleed every month.
Yeah, they flush out, huh?
And we know the man's seed is a live seed. But
there it is.
Question though, what's to say that there's a life there? Just because it's alive don't mean its life as far as we know it. It's no thought there. It's no this and that.
Explain life as we know it.
Life as we know it.
Explain that term.
Number one, ain't no lungs, so breath.
Huh?
Everything that live breathes. Either through breath, lungs, or through fins. What is it?
Aquatic. Okay.
Aquatic stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't see ovaries breathing, and I don't see sperm breathing.
No,
could you
see
call
them swimming and existing in fluid of the body?
Could you call sperm a cell?
Could you call sperm what?
A cell.
Say it one more time. I'm sorry.
Could you call it a cell? Like a cell?
Like a cell?
CELL.
Yeah, it's a cell. Sperm is cells.
So I would put forth then that if it's a cell, it still belongs to me. It's part of my cells, right? And then it joins up with the female cell, and then it becomes its own individual person or life. And that's where it begins.
So I'm going to ask you again, just like your picture, you got a blue pill and a red pill. You got two separate beings in your hand. Do they not come together in the female and become one?
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I'm saying. Your cell and the female cell, right, come together and they join, the chromosomes?
Well,
the
they
XY.
they start
X, yeah. So those come together and they create a new life. So I wouldn't say it's three lives, you know what I'm saying? But anyways,
okay. If you're a sperm, you may not make it to an egg, and you may just get flushed out during a sexual experience, right or wrong?
Right. I don't want to make this too long, but when the egg and the sperm come together, that's when life begins, right? Or you say
that's when a human life begins. But when we talk about the life of a sperm cell and the life of an egg and the ovary, those are two separate life cycles.
Okay, I can accept it.
You feel me? So the egg has a life of its own, and it's going to be flushed out during a normal menstrual cycle of the female monthly until you hit menopause. The sperm is going to do a similar faction when you have the wet dream and after, if you have encounters with females. It doesn't always impregnate an egg. Sometimes you just get shot out. This is when they make rude statements like your mom should have swallowed you and stupid stuff like that. But this is what you are. You're a sperm. You're an egg. When those two meet, that's a third life, because you were two separate beings that became one inside the womb of your mother, where she nurtured you to this life.
I think I have a problem with you saying that a sperm and the egg is a being. Because even in science, they said that's not a baby, that's a what?
We said it was a baby. We said it was a sperm.
No,
it's a separate type of life.
I'm sorry.
Science, when the woman is pregnant and she died in a car accident, a baby didn't die. It says something else. No. Or when they aborted the baby back in the days when you can abort them, when they aborted the baby, they never said you aborting the baby. They said that's a fetus.
Sorry, let me
So-
ask you something.
Go ahead, brother.
So I'm not sure if they actually use the sperm cells or themselves to identify DNA in a rape kit, but if that's the case, right? Because they could probably, if you leave semen on somebody, they could use that to basically to identify who it came from.
So let's
So
do
if
this.
you're saying that semen is its own life, how are they able to then identify, that semen using DNA to the man?
So
Because
this is
my
what
point is that the DNA for the semen is the same DNA that the man has, meaning it's the same life, right? It's his,
yes. And if he
it's myself.
ejaculates, guess what they can do? Trace him back to raping somebody, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that means that it carries the same DNA. But bigger, Israel doctrine raises another point. He says it's not a life considered a child yet. So it's not a life that humans value generally yet. But the question is not that. The question is sperm alive? So everybody type in Google, is sperm alive? The first thing you're going to get is yes, according to 6 sources. And some of these are biological. So we're talking about science. We're talking about biology stack exchange. Yes, it's alive. Sperm are unquestionably alive according to all the most sensible definitions of life. They move around, they have goals, they eat things, they die. If we do with the egg, we're going to get the same thing. So we know that these are living organisms. They're just not considered human life. Human life is considered a different situation in the court of law.
But
So an abortion comes into play when we start to deem the two separate beings that came together to make one a human being. So it's not, if it's not an embryo yet, the court of law doesn't protect it. Is it alive? Absolutely.
so my argument is this, right? Is that yes, it functions, it does all these things, but cells actually do the same thing as well. If you look into the cell, they even
Cells
have
are
even
alive.
exactly, they're alive, right? Exactly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you could say, oh, it's billions of trillions of lives that are alive inside of us, right?
Yes. When you do this, you kill molecules. When you
Word.
scrape the inside of your mouth, you kill insects and different
Word.
things in your mouth. It doesn't mean that there's no life in there. It means that it's not deemed worthy of considering it murder on the human platform.
But
Kalam,
you get what I'm saying. You get my argument though, right?
Okay, let's deal with this
Absolutely.
topic. So we saying that this life that we live in now is an afterlife.
It's an afterlife from a sperm and an egg. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a third life.
We got a subject and topic here, so I feel who's going off. I try to bring it back to the subject.
Now, your questions actually bring us to the good spot because you go to what I usually say when I give these type of discussions. This is an afterlife, meaning you were in the womb, you were in the scrotum, and now you're living as a human being totally separated from that. You don't remember a sperm you were around. You don't remember an egg cell you were around, any of the above. Egg is also, yes, facts over personality, absolutely. So you don't remember any of that life before. The only reason you know you were there before is because we have sonograms. We can see what happens when you ejaculate. We can see what happens when she has a period, a menstrual cycle. So these are the ways you know you had a life before this one. Now, the question is, when this one dissipates, what will happen to that energy? Because you don't see the way that it's going to transform, because that's all energy is going to do. It's going to transform. You don't see how it's going to transform, so you question what's going to happen. The Egyptians made an afterlife that was similar to regular life, and that's what Kalam is telling you. That's what I'm telling you. The Bible narrations, the Quranic narrations, the Hindu narrations did something similar as well.
Family, if you're enjoying the show so far, you already know what you need to do. Listen, just log in on a second account, right, and hit the like button a second time. Yeah, let everybody know that we're live on Titanstv. Let the algorithms pick up. Okay, yeah, let's get it popping. All right, go through, family.
Let's
Yeah,
go through the journey. Oh, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so I still, with the whole thing about, us being in the afterlife now, it's still a little bit confusing for me, just because,
Hold on, brother.
all right.
One second. I want to say this, right? This right now, let's talk. We're talking on it from, once we die, right? I want to talk it from that point onwards rather than the before point, right? So right now we're not in the afterlife, right? Right now we're not in the afterlife in that respect. So, so I want you to ask your
Yeah,
questions pertaining to those who have died or will die in the future, pertaining to that life afterwards. Let's go.
because you know why I wanted to ask that is because we have, cloning stuff. We're cloning stuff right now, right? So it's a little bit interesting to me, where, if we're talking about spirits and stuff like that, right? How does a cloned uh, animal or something, or even a human being, because I'm pretty sure we could clone humans right now, but how does that? It has to have a spirit, right?
It has to have a what?
A spirit, if it becomes conscious.
This got something to do with afterlife though, because then that'll be more on cloning.
Well, I mean, when that clone dies, what happens to a spirit?
The animating energy that transforms, we don't know. That's the question.
And I think that's the scientific thing, that energy don't die or nothing. It just get replaced somewhere else. It go, well, there's this bunch of energy over there. Well, it just broke up. Where did it go? Must have went over there. It popped up somewhere.
And you don't necessarily need sperm to clone life, right? You could just use cells.
Correct. Because cells are alive. It's a type of life form.
All right. So I'll just concede then, and then we can move to the next point. Yo, you on mute, bro?
Yeah. Now that we've got different brothers in, I would like to know your different afterlife concepts. Okay, if it's grounded in your religious book, let us know. What is your afterlife concept?
Well, man become unanimated. We animated now. It's because we had that energy to give us animation. Once the body become unanimated, and you only put you 6 feet in the ground in America somewhere, or they put you in a tomb or something, you get put away, and eventually you're supposed to get a resurrection. There's two. It's one of the righteous, and they'll forever be with the Lord once they resurrected. And then the second one is everybody gonna get resurrected. Then you're gonna get judged. Either you're gonna be with the Lord because you got a good judgment, or you're gonna be put in the lake of fire, which is a bad judgment. Sort of to the alligator that eats the thing that get on my yacht and the scale and weigh the hearts and all of it.
What's interesting, you bring that up. We have a lot of people call them spells. We call them hymns. So we have the hymns that allow us to sniff air, allow us to take charge of the elements, and in particular allows us to drink the water. So when you go to and I'll just give you the references. In fact, you know what?
This comedic.
Yep. So the Papyrus of Nu, British Museum number 10,477, sheet 7, because it's been pulled off the wall. It says, praise the bull of Amentet. I am brought unto you. I am the oar of Ra, wherewith he ferried over the divine aged ones. Let me neither be burnt up nor destroyed by fire. I am Bet, the firstborn son of Asar. who do meet every nature within his eye and enu. I am the divine heir, the exalted one, the mighty one, the resting one. I have made my name to germinate. I have delivered it, and you shall live through me day by day. So we have texts like that, and there's several of them concerning drinking the hellfire water. Those texts never seem to make it into the Bible. So for the Bible believers, a little bit of difficulty. For us, it's not an issue. There's about 3 texts about drinking water and not being burnt, and what you guys call the hellfire and what we call the lake of fire in the Amduat.
Well, now that Dead Sea Scroll, or what would it be called? Because I believe every Kemetic person got their own, right? Is that not true? If you had
Not
money,
quite.
you get your own scroll, you get your own documentation of what to do in the afterlife with your car, and
Well, you
all
get your favorite texts that are from the already written text from the
and what's
ancient
that, like
kingdoms.
125 or something that almost everybody put in there because it deals more with the when the Mayat and stuff, because it's supposed to be telling your soul what to do in the afterlife.
That's right. It's
Because
famous
if
text.
you don't know particular things to do, you're not going to go over in the other life and do them. And then
Correct.
you, as they like to say in movies or comic books or cartoons and stuff, then your soul is trapped here. It can't go nowhere. It can't, because it don't know what to do.
It'll be a mu'it. And this is the same. This is why we tell you, it says, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. There's no heaven for you unless you're better than the Jew, and you can't be better than the Jew unless you keep the laws and commandments. Famous quote from Sheikh Ahmed Didat. So we know what those books say, but for us, if you know the text, there's no problem for you.
Hold on 1 second. Let me get into hold on, Israel. Let me make sure I get everybody up in here. Brother Musa, what you saying to me, King?
What's up? What's up?
What's good, King? I wanted to know, yeah.
What's going on? What's good? What's good? Everybody in the room, yeah. Everybody's good, yeah.
What's popping, fam? We're good.
Yeah.
I want to know, what do you ascribe to in regards to the afterlife? Oh, sugar, I just mute your mic.
Yeah. I think Kemet records the afterlife and all the what to expect, but it's unfortunate that we're not practicing Kemetic funeral rites. You see what I'm trying to say to you? We're talking about it, but when is it going to be a point where we start to practice our Asian funeral rites like we did in Africa? We picked up other people's ways, and it's not really that's not healthy for our people to not bury their dead according to their customs. I think Kemet has set the standard. Kemet has set the trend, and all other tribes, whether it be Ashanti, Yoruba, Zulu, they've all got traces of Kemet in the way they practice their funeral rites. Yeah,
Correct.
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Correct. And this is how you know the difference between the older spirituality systems, if you will, or the older cultural systems, if you will, and the newer ones, right? So we are mostly colonized. You live in Europe, we live in America. So we're talking about colonized Africans right now who practice European methods. If you've seen Dr. Ben's funeral, my brother Saber Reggie helped organize, they did the opener to the mouth ceremony. Now he died a Muslim. I believe he was with our brother Abu Dawood and over there at the time. So, you know, they didn't get to touch his mouth with the adzi, etc., etc. But You seen them pour the water. You seen them pour the libations. They did most of the ceremony. I believe Brother Sinjetti did a reading that's not on the television when it was taking place, and they poured water in all four directions, just like the ceremony. The only difference is, in some of these areas, it's a little difficult to practice your cultural affinity because it can be dangerous around people who think you're a heretic or you're against their faith. So then we gotta, you know what I'm saying? We don't want to have funerals where we got the Uzis and stupid stuff out like that just to protect a procession and a brother getting the proper rights to pass away. But yeah, it's coming. It's on its way. And if you go to some of the richer funeral homes for Europeans who are in the Zoroastrian order and different things of that nature, they build the tomb the same way the Egyptians do, and their bodies are sitting in there, and it looks just like a Sirach. So you still have those. As a matter of fact, my brother said he was walking through one of them funeral spots.
Brother, are you saying that you think that it would be kind of dangerous or challenging for Africa?
Yeah, I'm telling you it is. Yeah. Unless you in Africa, it's a little dangerous. Somebody got an echo. You got your YouTube up.
It's Moose's. But let me touch on. I don't know if you guys were done with your conversation. You done?
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. So let me touch on some of my Christian beliefs when it comes to the afterlife. I basically believe that we are promised life, right? Eternal life, and so we're going to be alive, and we're going to have bodies in order to experience this life. And I'm pretty sure that's part of why we bury our dead and we don't burn our dead, right? Is so that you could sort of, like Kalam was saying, preserve your body as long as possible, with the thought of, or with the intention of, your body being resurrected or your bones being resurrected when the Lord comes. So what we believe is that there's a new heaven. All right, go ahead, man. Israel.
No, you go do your thing, but you saying after death is no heaven and hell, there will be a resurrection.
I didn't say that.
Well, I'm asking is that's what you're trying to apply?
No, I agree. There is going to be hell. There's going to be hellfire, and there's going to be heaven, where we live, together with the Savior, with our King. So basically, we believe that he's going to come down. There's going to be a new earth that comes down from the heavens, right? And then at that point in time, the spirits or the bodies or the spirits of the dead will be called up, and they will be given new bodies in which they can become compatible with this new world that's going to come. So I've always looked at it as people that are not saved, that don't have this new body, will experience hellfire. They'll experience fire because they're not compatible with the new earth that comes down. You got anything?
Easy. Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
You from Zambia, right?
Word.
All right. What is the Zambian tradition? Before this Christian Bible got to your country, Zambia.
Yeah.
How did the Zambian people bury their dead?
So in my country, there's something like 72 tribes, if I'm not mistaken, probably even more, to be honest with you. So we all have like different traditions, but if we look in general, I think we used to bury our dead. We'd bury our dead with, some possessions and stuff like that. And if you go back far enough, at times, I think they, like the kings and stuff like that, would even bury, they'd have human sacrifices, man. They'd bury some of their slaves or people that are, groomed for that role, that when the king dies, you're going with him. And they just like bury them alive sometimes. So it's a lot of stuff, fam. I can't really pinpoint.
Is it better? Obviously, there has to be some type of adjustments being made, but is it better to go back to in traditional burial.
So how I've started like recently thinking about stuff, right, is, you know, there's this thing, oh, now let's keep things traditional. A lot of times we were having certain ceremonies and traditions is because out of, you know, just coping with what we had, right? We didn't know any better, and so we would do certain things, right? So my thinking is, now that we know better, why should we stick to the same old traditions that were meant for a different time?
That's the point. That's the point I'm getting at. Do we know better? Because when we practice our own indigenous customs, we were better people then than what we are today.
Absolutely.
It's very hard to tell, because right now we're not independent. You know, we're controlled by colonialism, like, you know what I'm saying? So we're not independent. We're not doing things on our own accord. So it's hard to tell.
But didn't the Bible and Christianity, wasn't that part of our neocolonialism though? Isn't that book, the way it was introduced to Western Central Africa, didn't that hurt?
No, it wasn't. All right, go ahead, Israel.
See me put my hand up, but that's where the term religion come in and divine services. So when do you get new divine services from a new God or new person? Because them divine services has a culture context to it that you have to culturally do these divine services to get the reaction you want. How did this come into play?
I get what you're trying to say, Israel, but in terms of Africa, we gotta look at things that hurt Africa and things that helped Africa, and minus Ethiopia. Ethiopia had an ancient Christian, Judeo-Christian tradition, and they had images that looked like them. Minus Ethiopia, the rest of Africa, with that Christian, colonial Christianity, has done more to make black people more backwards, more ignorant, more self-hating. I think the proof is in the pudding. From African Americans, African Americans to Nigerians to Zimbabweans, they're South Africans. They got mental issues, bro.
I would agree with them, because when it was Jew Day in Christianity, it was more African, because the Judeans was down in Egypt, came out of Egypt,
right?
And the things that they learned in Egypt and other things, and the Egyptians that came out with them, because it was a mixed multitude, had a system or a culture that they was holding on to that was still African. When the Europeans,
100%,
they bastardized it. When the Greco-Romans, which most people got Greco-Roman Christianity now, it was a new spiritual system. It had new divine rights and services and stuff, and it messed African people up.
You know what? I want to get controversial. Hold on, we can go back into that, yeah, in a little while. But I want to get controversial with my brother Asar real quickly.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right.
Let's get
so
it.
It says, yeah. You see, I'm eating plus S right now, yeah, but I'm still trying to do the show. But anyways, yeah. All right. It says here, ask Asar, how can they properly bury without a pharaoh? See me. Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb, yeah, and I'm gonna be like, I'm of that persuasion, yeah. So I already know Asar doesn't agree with that. So I'm gonna say it myself. Asar, how can you bury without a nesut or somebody who is a priest who
live on earth?
Yes, yeah. There you go. So tell me, let me know. I would like to know.
Yeah.
Because personally, I don't think it's possible. Right.
So the nesut was never a mainstay that had to be there in order to do the burials. That's never been a prerequisite. The prerequisite was that you were an Asar. And quickly you'll see the Greeks come over with that same affinity. Oh, the Asarian cult, we want to be a part of that. Some of our brothers in Greece are the same way. So they didn't have a nesut, Bitty, at the time. They had no problem bringing Ptolemy over. So if you know that the Ptolemies buried without an actual Heru from the Shemsu Heru. And you know that during that time, there were priests such as Manetho who were helping out Ptolemy, and he had a proper burial. You have other Egyptians who had proper burials during that time. There was no real Nasut Bidi at that time. It was foreign rulership. When the Romans came over, you still had burials happening in the ancient fashion. Even when it went over to the Coptics, still had those same burials happening without a Nasut Bidi on the throne. And we know they didn't recognize them because they wouldn't even follow the calendar when they tried to change the calendar, which was the mandated law. And they was like, that's nice. We're not doing that. And so they stood in their ways and in their happenings. It's never been a prerequisite to have a Nasut Bidi. In fact, a better question would be, where is the rule where you need a Nasut Bidi to have a burial? That's never been a prerequisite of African people. But that would be the answer.
I like the way you said that. I will show you the rule. Let me show you the rule. Let me show you the rule right now.
Heated.
So I don't know if you was here at the earlier stage, and it gives you the whole breakdown, right? Don't know. Did I show you this? It says here, Ray is
installed the king upon the earth for the sake of the living, to have endless repetition and invariable duration, to judge humanity, to pacify the gods, to realize Ma'at, and to annihilate Isfet. He gives offering to the Necharu and invocation offerings to the transfigured. So he makes offerings. You say Dihatep Nasu when the king isn't there, correct?
Sorry. So no.
So
no. Let's get that right. All of the offerings are given to the dead or to the Ahu in the tombs is in the name of the king.
Yeah, that's
right, or in the name of the Nesud, and also for like Anubis or a Sa. Okay, it's the priesthood that's given it on the behalf of the king, because the king has to authorize that this person is an Ahu. So I want to know who is authorizing. Okay, remember he delegates his power to the administration, right? So I want to know what administration is in to authorize that someone could become an Ahu. So, for example,
well,
right?
He doesn't authorize they become an Aku. An Aku is an ancestor. We call them the Yadim was sick, and they're the northern stars. That's what they call the Ahu over there.
The Ahu are those. No, the Ahu are those ones who are now. Not every person who dies, it becomes an Ahu. An Ahu is only a person that has been transfigured into becoming an Ahu. So, because otherwise, there's some people who don't. Exactly. Because some beings.
Remember, the hymns of the book are coming forth by day, the pyramid text. Any Sabiat text is called an Ak maker. It makes you an Ak. It makes you an Aku. It makes you an effective being. This is where they get precept upon precept, such and such and such. It comes from that. So the king doesn't sign every temple. What he does is he's come by certain temples that we read, not every temple, just certain ones of people who were among his progeny who were doing work for him, and he gives them special rights for doing good
power
things,
and dispensation.
Right. You were the him Netcher, you were the this, you were the Ami Unut, you were the Hour Watcher, you were. So he declares their titles and he declares them true of voice, but those are just people amongst his administration. He doesn't do it for every funeral service. Now, the Dihatep Nesu, which is the offering that the king gives, is said in every single prayer. Everyone says it amongst the Ramech and the Shemsu, the followers, if you will. That's the name of the cult. It's called Shemsu. And then whichever cult you are a part of, whether it's Asars, whether it's Sets, whether it's Sets, whether it's Herus, that is how you follow and worship according to that particular cult. So I'm what you would call a Shemsu Asar. Now, he's not going to necessarily sign my tomb. I may not be around him. It doesn't mean that I'm not venerated in my town or city and that I'm not an Aku. Otherwise, we wouldn't have people writing letters to their family members as Aku. So we have
But the only ones, because they were only those who become Ahu can they actually write letters to, or can they venerate?
No.
Everyone else, those people who have whatever, those people who's on the scales of Ma'at, it does they are not balanced, or they're not true of voice. If you're not labeled Ma'akhiru, true of voice, right? How you can't have an afterlife. You cease to exist. Amut or Amit eats you. There's no more existence for you in that regard. You are discarded. You become like a pet trampled under. Your name is despised. You do not get to have an afterlife. Your bar does not get to return your bar does not get to be released from your body to go up into the skies. It doesn't happen.
When
bar ceases to exist. Your name ceases to exist.
Other than the priest who messed up during the rites of the Necharu, who they killed and got rid of, that wasn't Ma'akeru. Who do you know in ancient times that didn't get that? So the letters to the dead, show me where the king venerated those people as Aku. If I pull up one of the letters to the dead, you're not going to see the king in his tomb. You're not going to see the king's name on that letter. So the king doesn't determine who's an Aku. That the persons who buried that person determine if they were effective for them, which is why they write them letters on a regular basis.
No.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Let me tell you what happens, right? The king gives power to the different gnomes. Each gnome has a temple or an estate, right?
A mayor.
And has administration, right? Mm-hmm. And within that, every single person that belongs to a gnome belongs to that particular temple, right? And when it comes to that person dying, the administration now knows. Now there needs to be a judging process that takes place, right? A judging process to know whether this person was a murderer, whether they were rapists, where they, committed all different types of crimes, right? If they are pronounced ma'acheru, true of voice, then and only then can they become a achu. If not, they are punished. They don't get to have an afterlife.
But that has nothing to do with the king judging that. So watch this.
The king,
watch this.
Wait, let me say the king, delegates his power to the Shemsu Heru, to the priest, to the administration of that particular gnome. And that gnome is responsible for the judging of the people itself. So if the person who's passed is now known as a rapist or a child molester, no matter what they cannot be an ahu. That means they go to the lake of hell.
That would be the case amongst the people, but the king wouldn't make that decision. So watch this. During the intermediate period, when there's no king and people are dying, who determines those people are aku or not?
The people who were last delegated in power, as it has to be the people. The people. Remember, it's the administration. If the king is no longer there, the administration has already been given power and authority, right?
No. Remember how Horde the Deaf was trying to claim himself as a king?
Teach me.
Remember Horde? Now Horde the Deaf, as soon as there was no king and things looked awry, he says, let me put myself in power. That's when you have the other king. I want to say it was Shabaka or one of them, but I'm not sure I'm right about who came to get him. He's declaring himself a king. He's just a priest. But at that time, he's still performing the services for the people. He's not declared the king. People are still dying. People are still ma'akeru when they die. They're still true of voice when they die. If you're judged a certain way, the people of that town will declare what you are and what you are not. And case being, this is why there are Nubian viziers, mayors, who run cities for a particular king. And if they got tired of that king, they'd be like, that's not going to happen down here. That still didn't stop the people from making burials for their dead. That never stopped the people from being ma'akeru. In fact, the coffin text is different from the pyramid text because the coffin text is for the ordinary person. It's not for the king. It's for the ordinary person to pull information, to pull the selected hymns for themselves. Israel Doctrine was speaking on this earlier. He was saying each one is different, but they're actually similar. They're just hymns made that are known hymns declared for this particular person that they would like on their own coffin. So this is where you get the coffin text from, because it's found in the different coffins, and they're selected hymns that used to be for kings and for the venerated amongst the king's services that are for the ordinary people. So at no time is the king the one who makes you ma'akeru. You are ma'akeru from your actions and your happenings and things you do, which is usually why your son or your daughter writes the inscriptions that will take place in your tomb. Not the king. If you are really special,
So-
the king will come by and write them for you.
So who authorizes, okay, who authorizes your tomb?
The priest and
The
Jehuti,
priest.
and your
Okay,
parents
cool.
pay
So-
for it.
So the priest authorizes it, okay? Who gives or who empowers the priests?
The priests are empowered by the people and the state. Remember, they're
The
paid for their
pharaoh.
services, and the state, the king, when you conquer both lands, you give jurisdiction as to what's to happen in these areas. It's no different than the president.
But it's the
The president
pharaoh.
doesn't make you true a voice. The president gives you a state power, but certain states have different power. I can smoke weed in this state, I can't in this other state. I can use mushrooms in Colorado, we can't use them in this state. You know why? Because the mayor has stepped over the lines of the country's power to give veneration to something we want to do in this state in particular. Who gave him the power? The people. We voted on said subject.
Can I ask something right quick?
Yes, sir.
When it comes to the pharaoh or the king, are they looked at as like gods on earth, or they're just simply men?
He's looked at as the Necharu on earth. He's looked at as you would look at the president. The president is considered to be the best among those in America, and we vote for him and put him in office. So we expect him to do the best job concerning decisions. King is the same way. He had a little more power back in the day than our president now, because if you bad talked him, he could send troops to find you. If you did this, you understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah, but what I mean is he looked at, all right, so for instance, our president, everybody knows the president.
To answer your question, we call him the little Necharu or the good Necharu, because he's different than the Necharu that are venerated in the sky. But we still give him credence and respect. Go ahead,
is he looked at as a human being, or is he looked at as more than a human being in that he contains the essence of the gods in him? Almost like Jesus Christ would in our eyes.
We all do. The coffin text tells you, I'm a netcha. I breathe. I drink. I sleep. I defecate. I have sex. We're all the natural. You're what you call the God, the double.
Speak. Y'all gonna keep talking.
Israel,
well, yeah, because we having a conversation. Hop in right after. Absolutely.
Just wait for me to finish my questioning, and then you can go, brother. I was waiting as well. So listen. So if he's looked at as the God, then wouldn't that go with what Kalam is saying in terms of the priesthood being under the king and getting authority from the king?
We didn't say the priesthood wasn't under the king. My question was, were the people not ma'akeru when there was no king during an intermediate period?
No, what my point is
that's my question. That's why I'm telling you. So, he did not determine who was ma'akeru, who was true of voice.
This is the thing, right? When there wasn't a king,
determine if you're ma'akeru and if you're true of voice, and they will write the letters to you. They will burn the incense for you, and they will pour the libations, the water.
I understand that part, man, but you gotta concede as well. You gotta concede as well that
there's nothing to concede here.
No, I'm saying though, you just admitted that the king is looked at more than a man, that he's looked at like a god, right? And then at the same time, when I say that the priests get their authority from the king because he's basically the God on earth, you know, then you say no, they don't. And then you give me an example of a time period when there wasn't a king, but the priesthood was still in existence.
Brother,
Those are two different things. But I'll let Israel go.
do you understand there's a rulership for us kings and monarchs and all that? And then there's a spiritual system. And they always been at war in every society because the king can say stuff to the priest, but the priest own their salvation, they soul, they everything, because they got to live after they died if they don't deal with the priest right.
Well said. Well said. Well said, Israel.
And let me give him an example to prove Israel doctrine's point, because what you've done, you've convoluted what the question was initially. The question was, does the king, without the king, how can the people be buried? So we know that they can be buried whether it's a king or not. But Akhenaten was the God on earth, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Did the priest overthrow Akhenaten?
Did the priest overthrow him?
Yeah.
They were involved in the overthrow of Akhenaten, yeah.
Absolutely. Were they supposed to be subordinate to him?
Yes.
What happened there?
They broke the natural order.
And didn't they start burying people in the way he said not to do after he stopped taxes coming to the priest?
Yeah, so they stepped out of line and broke the natural order of authority.
Right. You think people died in that struggle a little bit?
Yes, they did.
Absolutely, because we got the records of the Armani letters. I can't even say it tonight. So we got the letters. We know exactly what happened. So the king doesn't determine your burial. The king might write something on your tomb to give you more credence because you're ma'akeru. You're true of voice. Not you're so true of voice, you're an ordinary person, and the king came down here to give you extra veneration in your tomb. And he usually sent the priest, because when we say Dihatep Nesu, guess what? We all say that same prayer. We say Dihatep Nesu, Netcha Asar, Netcha Abju, so and so. So you understand what I'm saying? So we all say that, but the king, we're giving it on behalf of the king because he's the representative for the people. When he's not representing the people, the king is actually Asar. The king is actually Harut.
Yeah, so wouldn't that mean that the priesthood, yeah, bro, wouldn't that mean that the priesthood fall under the king and they get their authority from the king if he is the ultimate God on earth?
Yeah, we didn't say that wasn't true. The question was, does the king determine if you get buried or not?
Okay, all right. I guess I guess yeah, there you have a point, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But I think what he meant,
you don't need a king to get buried. You need a king so that you can have a sovereignty.
The whole system.
Correct, not the whole system, because the priest run most of the system. The king is more of a figurehead in some cases, but the king was looked at as the representative, no different than the president.
All right, bet.
Kalam, what you eat?
So would you? I know. I'm almost finished. So would you say the king gives authority to the priests? It's the priest and the priesthood.
Absolutely. In most cases.
Okay. So once the priests have authority via the priesthood, right? Sorry, via the king, right? Mm-hmm. If the king doesn't exist, but the priesthood exists, they still have the authority via the king. Therefore, they're able to conduct the burials.
Technically, yeah.
Correct.
But in order for them to have had it in the first place, it would have came through the king. Correct?
Not necessarily, because when we go into the formulation of how a lot of these things come into being, we see a group of priests get together in a city, and there was I'm trying to remember the book that it shows it in, and the inscriptions. The inscriptions basically show a couple families saying, you do the burials over here, we'll do the burials over here, and this family will do the burials over here. They agree on prices and what have you, and then they go about their practice. When you are a hemnetcher and you're running a town, a particular city, because we all know they're corrupt priests, correct? Who doesn't remember the priest of Amun Ra? Very corrupt. The man went to the court system, pleaded his case about what was wrongfully taken from him, and they ran up on him, stabbed him, left him in the temple, stabbed somebody else from his family, beat him up. He survived a little while in the jail and passed away and wrote about it. So it's not just the king who's in control of these situations. Some towns get out of hand. Remember, some kings didn't have rulership over the two lands. They only had it over the one.
So my thing is, in order for somebody to pass on to the next life, right? Mm-hmm. Effectively, there needed to be a judging system. There needed to be an authority in place, okay, where there is a court in place, where people who have grievances against the deceased could come up to say, you know what, when I was 12 years old, 13 years old, this man raped me. This is the evidence for it, and such and such and such and such, right? There needs to be a governing body in place to authorize this person effective to becoming an effective person. This person saying, for this person to be called or labeled ma'akhevru, true of voice, who has lived a good life. Because that means that anybody can get buried, right? And can have the burial rituals placed upon them, and they could have been a bad person. There needed to be an authority, a court, a judicial system in place to make sure that this person was a good person in order to be passed on to the next life. Is that correct from your understanding or not?
Well, the king doesn't determine that.
It's the king that gives. Is the king appoints and delegates his power through the administration, right? Through Nomes 1 to 42, he gives the power to the head priest. The head priest now, delegates further powers to the other servants or the other priests.
No, there's different, and this is why this is kind of confused. There's different factions, right? So those different factions bury their followers in said way and in certain areas. The king only would come down for somebody's funeral if they're amongst his
No. I think you're getting me wrong. I'm not saying he needs to be present. I'm saying he's delegated authority and power for them to conduct it. The king doesn't literally judge the whole land.
What he did was collect taxes from them. So they're no different than what you see here. You have different mortuary service companies that could bury your dead. It's no different than here. All he did was collect the taxes from that company. Like, okay, you're doing this for the city and for the state. Taxes need to come to me.
I think this is what.
Hold up, brother. When you're talking about the actual setup of the system, and this is why I say I probably should pull that book out. When they're talking, these are different families who have taught the system of burial, and they bury the people for that city, and the money comes to them directly. They pay a tax to the king. The king is not giving any particular charge saying, no, you can't bury him. No, he's not Ma'akeru, unless there's somebody who he has a problem with.
Okay, as I'm not saying that he needs to personally do it, but he's of authorized power. So just like as the court systems over here authorizes power to the judge based upon the top, yeah. So
I'm not.
And that's what I'm saying, because there needs to be a system in place, right? Because that means any family, like any random family, could now bury somebody that they loved, right? Even though they weren't true voice. And I'm saying that could not happen in Kemet. Right?
Yeah, but that happens because you had people, like I said, if you paid the money to the priest, you were getting buried.
So the priests were going against the natural order.
Whoever paid money to the priest was getting buried. Now there's a saying that I've read this on an older show. If you were disrespectful to your parents, this, that, the other, there is no grave for you. I believe that. I don't remember if that's an Ankh Shashank or Patahatep, but
So,
if you're disrespectful to your family, nobody's going to pay for your grave.
so guys, just to clarify again, because you guys are just going to keep going back and forth. It's almost like you're saying the same thing, but at the same time, you both disagreed. But all right, just to get it clear, man, the afterlife and with the Commission theology, what is it exactly? Because like I still don't get it. You guys are basically saying there's no afterlife.
You asked a totally
the
different
only
question, bro. That's a totally different question from the one we were on. We're talking about.
I know. I'm just trying to get us past that because you guys just keep going back and forth.
Yeah, hold that thought, because there's other people here that wants to have their say.
Right,
hold that thought, okay?
Right,
so we got Kwame. I want you to let me know what you're saying, Kwame, and then afterwards I'm going to get CC up in the building as well. So Kwame, what are you telling me?
Peace, Kalam. I'm just paying my respect, paying my homage. I enjoy your show for a couple of years now. I'm glad that you're back. I'm just enjoying the show. If I had asked a question, I just time in, but I'm just enjoying the show.
All right, love my G. Okay,
yeah,
more than a couple of years. You've been here for a long time.
Yeah.
All right, peace, man. Appreciate you, King. Appreciate you. All right, let me get CC in. Give me a second. CC, go ahead, King.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I joined the show late, so I might have missed a lot of stuff. But I was wondering if this priesthood doesn't bury somebody, what happens to a dead person according to your beliefs, and what is your afterlife, and what would the afterlife be if the priesthood doesn't bury you? That's the question I'd like to know an answer to.
The soul basically becomes a wandering soul, a mu'it as they call it. So this happens if no one's pouring libations for you, no one is remembered your name, they don't say your name, and you're not receiving food offerings when people eat their food, saying grace. The priest would also get paid to do this service. They would be paid to basically pour libations, give food offerings for your soul, for whoever's soul. And this was one of the things that they do. You still see this in Ifa tradition. Ifa and I believe a Khan tradition might do it as well. But you still kind of see this.
That's right.
Yeah.
But where is the spirit wandering?
Go ahead.
Where is it wandering? That's my follow-up is, where is it wandering? And if you're wandering and nobody's offered these things, prayers or foods, whatever, how are you existing in even the spirit world and wandering?
Well, you either exist in the Aru because you're Ma'akeru, which you eat the divine cakes of Asar, which is cornbread. They've got the recipe on the wall, and that is where you subside. Or
where's that again? Aru? You said Aru, right?
Yeah, the Aru.
Is that fact, like, what is that, heaven?
It would be a place in the Amduat that is considered to be like heaven. Yes, it would be the pet. It would be around the Sar, with the good smelling cakes and the fresh smelling oils, etc., etc., etc.
So what about all the people who've died?
Personalities confused itself over here. He didn't ask the question. We answered the question. Now he's trying to double back on the question.
Who's me?
My brother Facts over Fairy Tale. Let me make this statement real quick. So Facts over personality. We're going to ask you this. Hold up, and then I'll let you go ahead. Let me just ask you this. Show us the statement where it says that you cannot be buried because there's no king. Facts over personality. That was what I asked you earlier. You said I was just asking a question. So answer that question. I'm just asking a question now. Go ahead, brother.
So far it sounds like, similar to Christianity in that you do have an afterlife, and even Judaism to some extent, because they also believe, if I'm not mistaken, actually I'll let Cece speak on that, but we do believe in an afterlife. Those who are dead basically are sleeping until the time comes when they shall be resurrected in Christianity. But it seems like from what you're saying that in the Commission theology, you guys also believe in an afterlife, an actual place where the souls or spirits go to.
Yeah, it goes to the Aru. And well, that debate is going, and I ain't even gonna mention his channel. I had a discussion with one of my Christian brothers about it, and the location and what it looks like, and the fact that the Amduat, the locations described sound just like the descriptions in Revelation. John H.C. Skippy, I believe, has a book on it. I have that book over here.
That's why I brought this conversation up a couple shows back, because everybody's talking crazy about a lot of stuff, and they doing a lot of crazy thing, and they supposed to have a spiritual system,
right?
And they're not worried about their afterlife. And nobody is talking about, well, when you pass, I don't care who put you away. Everybody got an afterlife, whether you was put away right or not. You're gonna live after this life. And how are you doing all these things, thinking that there's no consequences after this life?
You got a lot of atheists on deck right now speaking for Kemet, as opposed to those who actually, we practice, we understand the ethic codes, and we apply those ethic codes to our life. Some people are silly because they'll say, like, why would you be doing something archaic? No, we're not saying we are going to go make a stone hut and go live in a stone hut. The ethic codes left by them, which transcend and end up in other books,
that's why I asked the
are
question
helpful
about
to
the
your life.
Absolutely. Of divine services.
Yes.
If you got a divine service, you got to carry it out.
That's
if you
right.
want the divine rights.
That's right. And so in my old apartment, you would see it set up, and I would have pictures of some of my partners that passed away, that ran with us, because I would still say the rights for each one of them.
Sick. Love that. Family Tree, we've got less than 10 minutes left on the live show. Of course, we're going to continue this show off air. But family, if you want to see more, you already know what you have to do. Just hit up the like button. Just hit up the like button. That's all you got to do. Hit up the like button. No, actually, furthermore, let me get some some reciprocal. Say the word for me, brother. Yeah, let's get some reciprocity. There you go, reciprocity, man. Some reciprocity. Can I get some super chats? Let me have some super chats. Let me know that you lot are tuned in and you're loving the show by a super chat. I don't mind if it's $2. Just give me a $2 super chat. Let me know that you're loving the show. If not, the show will be shutting off abruptly. Come on, family. $2. Can I get a $2, man? $2 anywhere? $2. Let me know that you're enjoying the show and that it's actually giving you value. Okay. So who else actually wants to speak that hasn't spoken that much yet? How do we listen off air? You already know the link is at the top. It's in the pinned comments. Only a certain amount of people can come on in. Okay.
Can I read you guys something and see what you guys take as from a commission point of view?
Definitely. From a point of view, absolutely.
So this is Ecclesiastes, and it says Ecclesiastes 9 verse 5 and 6. It says, For the living know they will die, but the dead know nothing, and they have no more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Their love and their hate and their envy have already perished, and forever they have no more share in all that is done under the sun. What do you guys think about that? You want me to repeat it?
I mean, it's like you
that was powerful.
Sure, Babylon done. I mean, for me, for you, it's like what we just said. You were a sperm. You don't remember any sperm around you. You were an egg. You don't remember any eggs around you. You in this life now. You know you came from that one, but you don't remember any happenings. You don't even try to go. Sometimes we do try to go back to the place we were born, but we you know what I'm saying? For the most part, you don't you don't recall any of that life. The only way you know about it is through looking at stethoscope or different tools doctors have to see that sperm travel, to see that eggs impregnate, etc., etc.
And could you give your interpretation of that?
What stood out to me is from what they've been talking about with with the memory of somebody, libations and all that stuff. It actually mentions it in this verse. It says, "For the memory of them is forgotten." I don't know if you guys caught that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you still in this life and you thinking about
similar.
them, even though they're traveled, they're not thinking about you. You're thinking about them, they're not thinking about you.
Repeat that verse again, though. Repeat that verse. Let me really meditate on that, on the word.
All right. So it says, "For the living know that they will die, but the dead, they know nothing, and they have no more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten." That's the first half. And then the second is, "Their love and their hate and their envy have already perished, and forever they have no more share in all that is done under the sun." So while it does, have something similar to what you guys were saying in terms of the memory being one of the things that might keep you alive somehow, it does say that even though that might be a fact, the person that's dead doesn't know anything. But go ahead.
But that's not how classical Greek people saw their afterlife, or Vikings, for example. That's a pretty, I don't know, Christian theorized example. But other cultures don't see it like that. Greeks was all about living forever in the stories. That's why they had a heroic death, so that they would live on forever in story and word.
So are you Kemetic brother? Because I think he was asking Kemetic brothers their perception of it, and I want to speak out to them. That's why my hand is up.
Go ahead, man. Israel.
No. You asking the Kemetic brothers. There's two of them right there.
Yeah. So what was is that question? Sorry.
So what I was saying is basically, when in this verse that I was talking about, it basically says that the dead know nothing, right? Mm-hmm. Despite if you're, if you still have a memory of them, the dead still don't know anything, right? So after they die, mm-hmm. they go to this certain realm. I think in Judaism, they say they go to sleep. They go mm-hmm. to a deep sleep, if I'm not mistaken. But they're in this realm where they have no share in what's going on earth or in life.
Okay. I would say from a Kemetic standpoint, you do have a share on what's going on in this life. But I question whether your ab or your consciousness, are you yourself, as I am speaking to you, consciously aware, right? I know, for example, my name, if you say, and you're not even on the air right now, Kalam L from Titanstv, that portion of me lives on. The bar, my soul, my spirit, that bar soul, sorry, let me call it bar soul, of the impression that I leave on people's brain here because of my name, right? I know that definitely lives on right now here, yeah? And that's me not even having to go anywhere and so forth, right? But my consciousness, I can't see my consciousness floating over to somebody on the other side of the world in America that's not speaking right now on the phone to them on this system. So I don't particularly believe. No, let me use the word. I don't know, and I don't accept, right? And I would love to believe and accept, but I don't know and I cannot accept that my consciousness lives on after I'm gone. But I would love for Brother Asar to give me a breakdown and let me know, even from a Kemetic, is there any text to say that our consciousness will get to live on? Because I'm like,
right.
There is the belief where it can live on, but I want solid knowing. Do you know it can live on? That's it. That's for me.
Yeah, that would be, like I said, the closest thing we have to that discussion is quantum physics, because technically you can see when particles split and you see the ghost particle, you would have what would be the equivalent of a psi. And it can do it with different parts of the body. So it's not just one that so if the double slit experiment kind of gives us that answer to a degree. Will it happen? I don't know. Do you dream in a materialistic world where if you're a materialist, that shouldn't happen? Do you have deja vu about things that will happen in the future, which you shouldn't be able to see? Yes, that happens. So Will your physicality travel? I think the energy probably does without this vessel. I don't think that you're just stuck to this physicality. I think your energy does travel just based off of how the universe is made. It started as energy. You don't get the matter until it cools off. So the matter will be what suffices later.
That's your energy, but your consciousness, like your ability to know what's going on right now, does that travel? That's for me. I can't say yes on that. I only deal with what I know. Give me a hot second, because we're literally going to be closing down the show. That's a hard one there for me. Israel, talk to me, King, before we shut down the show. What are you telling me?
The thing is memory. Where do you remember stuff at? Up here. If you dead, no oxygen is going up there. You're not going to remember nothing because your brain is dead. Your brain, from my perspective, is a part of your soul because your body is your soul. I don't want to get into that.
Good point.
But when your brain is dead, so now the memory that it's talking about is our memory. But after a month or two, anybody that dead, they fall out of your memory. You don't think about them really no more. You might have glimpses and thoughts of them, but you're not dealing with them every day, so they're not in your thoughts.
And that's what I love about Cometicism, right? Because they found out a way to keep the memory alive. They kept it alive every single day. You will have a meal with them, i.e., you will give offerings to the ancestors, right? You will speak about them. You would recite their name to keep them alive in the community. And that's to me, that's the most powerful thing that Kemet actually has to offer: the eternal life here on this earth afterwards, right? Another group of people. It definitely is eternal life. Another groups of people can have a Christian afterlife, right? Where your afterlife is in another worldly place in heaven, right?
No, it's going to be here.
Oh, it's here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's going to happen is
hold that thought, because I need to be closing down the show, right? And so far, I've been the debates.
Possibly ask this crowd to stop talking about me. If you got something to say it in a certain type of way. But blatant disrespect, it's wrong. Think about your afterlife. Stop disrespecting me, because I do take things personal.
Okay, cool. So, anyways, I'm gonna read out certain things, right? All right, family tree. We've hit the 2-hour mark, right? The other day we went almost to 3 hours, right? So I don't want to do that again. Okay, if you're enjoying the shows and you want to see more of these shows, please just support Titanstv, right? Let the community know that we're back. We're doing shows consecutively, trying to do a minimum of 3 shows in a week, right? So far, I'm winning on that. And I want to keep on doing more shows like this, where I invite you guys to have your say in the community, right? Because we're also going to be doing our flagship show, Talk with the Titans, where we get our Titans on to come and give an interview and to give a presentation on their books and their works that they've been working on, right? These are Titans in the conscious community as well as in the academic field. Those are the 2 fields that we're looking at. So this right here is giving you guys the opportunity to just, participate and talk with us and engage. And I want more for you guys to come on. If you know somebody that has something, special to say or is well learned, please invite them to come on to the show, because we're trying to do these shows for you guys. Me personally, I might even start banging out my own videos, and drop a few videos, right? But that's just me with my knowledge and my information. I'm bored of that. I want you guys. I'm here to raise the next generation of Titans. So I really want you guys to really participate. Unfortunately, you guys are coming in now, but we have to leave the show. The only way you can participate from here onwards is to hit the link at the top and join the after show panel. Okay. So family tree, we're signing out. Love these talks, and I'll catch you guys on the other side. Peace and love. Young Cali, baby. Oh, man.